The tradition continues.
Calvary Global to the world 24/7.
Tradition continues.
Calvary.
The news on Favour FM 96.3.
Blessed evening, our dear listeners. Welcome back. This is Favour English News with me, Richard Daut. Let me start with the top stories. Humanitarian coordinator in South Sudan calls for the protection of the population and respect for human efforts. SPLM-IO halts participation in security mechanisms until political prisoners are freed. Israel launches extensive strikes on Gaza with at least 330 reportedly killed. The SPLM-IO, led by First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar, announced on Monday night that it has stopped participating in the Joint Defense Board, High-Level Political Committee, Joint Military Ceasefire Committee, and Joint Transitional Security Committee, pending the release of all political detainees. A press statement signed by Oyed Nathaniel Perino, Deputy Chairman and Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the opposition outfit, who is also the first Deputy Speaker of the National Legislative Assembly, said they decided, due to continued illegal detention of their ranking members, the deployment of Ugandan troops in South Sudan, and ethnic profiling of the Nuer community. On 7th March, several SSPDF soldiers, including their commander, General Major Dak, were killed in Nasir town while being evacuated by a UN helicopter. This followed weeks of tensions and eventually fighting between the SSPDF and the White Army, a group of armed Nuer youth. After the fighting in Nasir, security agencies detained Petroleum Minister Put Kang Chol, who also doubles as the Deputy Chairman of Higher Level Political Committee, General Gabriel Dublam, Deputy Commander of Defense Forces and Co-Chair of the Joint Defense Board, Honorable Gatwich Lampuch, Member of Parliament, and Gamilo Gatmai Kel, and 19 others, SPLM-IO senior military officers and officials. Deputy Speaker Oyet says their continuous detention is provocative and illegal, and refers to them as political detainees. The humanitarian coordinator in South Sudan, Ms. Anita Kiki Gebeo, expressed deep concern over the escalating violence in Nasir, Olang, and Baliet counties, Upper Nile State, affecting the population and disrupting humanitarian operations. Ms. Gebeo calls on all those involved in the fighting to respect and protect the population, humanitarian workers, and critical infrastructure. The violence is putting already vulnerable communities at greater risk and forcing the suspension of life-saving services, she said. Since late February, the violence has displaced an initial 50,000 people, of which 10,000 have crossed into Ethiopia. The insecurity has led to the relocation of 23 humanitarian workers and the closure of the cholera treatment cholera treatment unit in Nasir, worsening the ongoing outbreak. Nasir, Olange, and Baliat report approximately 850 cases over this period. The situation in Nasir follows other incidents across South Sudan since January, including in the Greater Equatoria, Greater Bahr el-Ghazal, where violence has impacted the population and resulted into displacement. Ms. Gebeo reaffirmed the United Nations commitment to working with the government of South Sudan and partners to support affected communities and address the root causes of violence and instability. The South Sudan Law Society over the weekend faulted the government of Eastern Equatorial State for land corruption, saying officials allocated one plot of land in Torit town to more than 2 or 3 people, leading to conflicts. This matter was raised during a one-day stakeholders meeting to rally support for transparent and accountable land demarcation and registration in the state. The meeting was attended by over 60 participants from or drawn from government institutions, community leaders, civil society actors, youth and women among others, and aim to advocate for social justice by ensuring all communities obtain information on human rights. The meeting also discussed multiple and irregular allotment of lands, demarcation of already allotted land, and land corruption. Jada Andrew Ottawa, a program officer with the South Sudan Law Society in Eastern Equatorial State, said multiple allotments of plots have complicated ownership of land and urged government to institute guidelines for land allotment. For his part, Luca Charles Giancarlo, Eastern Equatorial State Minister of Housing, Land and Public Utilities, confirmed the negative practice and attributed it to unclear and demarcation roles between the municipal council, county and state authorities. We're listening to Favour English News. In a regional scene, people living in Mekelle, the main city in Ethiopia, war-scared Tigray have said that they fear they could soon be dragged into conflict again. Growing tensions have threatened the fragile peace agreement signed in late 2022, which brought an end to a brutal civil war that claimed an estimated 500,000 lives. Many here are preparing for the worst, either leaving for the federal capital, Addis Ababa, on sold-out flights or stocking up on emergency supplies or withdrawing their savings from the bank. Tigray was the epicenter of the conflict. The guns were silenced when two of the main warring groups, Ethiopia's federal government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the leading political party in the region, signed a peace agreement. This led to the formation of an interim administration tasked with running the region until elections were held. But in recent months, there has been a growing power struggle between senior figures within TPLF and Tigray's interim administration. The administration accuses certain TPLF politicians of attempting to seize power by force. Some within the Tigray People Defense Front, Liberation Front, accuses the interim administration's leadership of failing to support ex-fighters or bring back people displaced by the war. Both sides accuse each other of engaging in treasonous activities that involve external actors. There are now concerns the peace agreement could unravel and even fears over the prospect of a direct conflict between Ethiopia and its neighbor Eritrea. During the Tigray War, Ethiopia's government was supported by Eritrea, but relations have deteriorated between the two countries since the peace deal, which Eritrea did not sign. Lastly, in the world news, explosion scenes over Gaza as Israeli military launches a new strike against Hamas. The Israeli military says it is carrying out extensive strike in the Gaza Strip with the Hamas-run health ministry reporting that at least 330 Palestinians have been killed. The Israel Defense Force said it was targeting what it called terror targets belonging to Hamas. Mahmoud Abu Wafa, the Deputy Interior Minister in Gaza and the highest-ranking Hamas security official in the territory, has reportedly been killed in a strike. This is the target. It is the largest wave of air strikes in Gaza since the ceasefire began on 19th January this year. Talks to extend the Gaza ceasefire have failed to reach an agreement. Many people were having their pre-dawn meal due to it being the holy month of Ramadan when explosions started in Gaza, witnesses have said. More than 20 Israeli warplanes flew over. They said the planes then began to hit targets in Gaza City, Rafah and Khan Yunus. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz ordered the strikes on Tuesday morning, according to a statement from the Prime Minister office. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, warned Hamas to release all the hostages, stating, I quote, "We will show no mercy on our enemies." Hamas has responded furiously, accusing Israel of treachery for returning the ceasefire agreement. It also says Israel is exposing the remaining Israeli hostage held in Gaza to an unknown fate. But Hamas has not yet declared that it is resuming the war, instead calling on mediators and the United Nations to intervene.